Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. In this video, we're just going to look at 5 decks to try and help you push for the last couple of days of Conquest mode. These are the 5 best modes for Infinity Conquest. These decks come from people that have been doing well, decks that have been doing well. So there's going to be 5. They're in no real order other than the first one, which is the Bounceless on the screen. I believe Bounce is probably just the best deck to play in Conquest because it's got so many powers and there's so much power and it's hard to stop. And once you know what you're playing against, you can take advantage of that by knowing like if they don't have a Killmonger, you don't have to be scared of Kitty Pryde, right? If they've got Wave, you know you've got to be prepared to pop your load early. It's really easy. Not easy. It's like if you're good at bounce, it's easy. If you're bad at bounce, it's kind of hard. I can play bounce, but I just don't know how to snap with bounce correctly, which makes it a a worse deck for me. But if you're good at this deck, you should be able to farm ladder or conquest. So this is just one version of it. There's another version with a D-Money's version with a collector and stuff like that. But this is Lambie series version. This is the version I prefer. There is open slots, like you don't have to play Spider-Ham, you don't have to play Iron Man, you put Shang-Chi in instead of Iron Man. You can mix it up. Like the core cards, like the Bastard, Kitty, Bishop, Angela, Hitmonkey, Iceman, Mysterio. Those are kind of good, but like your Spider-Ham you could switch if you wanted to. Iron Man you could, Shabazz you could, Jeff you could. There is some flexible slots, so you could put Falcon in here, you could have Elektra in here, you could have Shang-Chi in here if you wanted. Stuff like that. Tech cards. But this is a go-to deck. If you want to get good at a deck right now, it's Bounce. Okay, next up we have the Haibo Lockjaw deck. This is just another. This deck is easier. So if you're just not great at multiple decks and you want an easy deck to try and like push infinite, this is probably it. If you've got these cards, it's obviously there's some flexible spots in here. Like you could have Infinite in here for all the Spider Hams. You could go with a Dracula list if you wanted to. You could swap out the Killmonger for Wave. You could put Pig in there over the Killmonger. You could swap out You could swap out Jubilee for Dracula and stuff like that. It is open. These decks, none of them are all 12 cards need to be in here. You can swap stuff. Killmonger's the most flexible spot in here because you want the Wave. I mean, you want the Wasp. You want Lockjaw 4. You want High Evo. You want Jane, Hulk, Odin, Doom, Shavaz, Magneto. So, like, Jubilee is probably a keep. And if you get rid of Jubilee, it's probably for Dracula. And then you are putting in Infinite in here and going a little bit bigger. But this is just, I'm trying to keep it basic. Like, the easy, basic version that I'd run. And this is it. Like, maybe I'd swap Killmonger for Shang-Chi or Spider-Ham, depending on what I was facing a lot. But yeah, this is the list. Okay, moving on to the next one. We're sticking with High Evo. This is kind of lockdown control stuff. I hate lists like this. Again, very open. This list isn't running Misty Knight. You could put Misty Knight in here for another card. Go triple 1-drops. You've got Spider-Man and Professor X. You can swap one of them out and not go for 2. Storm's good. So like the key cards here are like your high evil cards, obviously. One of these two, one of the lockdown cards, Storm, Doom, Hulk. Like you don't need Daredevil. Like if you're not running Professor X, probably can get away with a Daredevil for like Misty. This version's just keeping them both in, keeping it open, letting you know that you don't have to do the full list. You can switch out if you want to. Next up, we have a Dino deck. This one's probably the weaker of the ones on the list. I didn't really want to put Sarah Control in here because I don't really like it. I feel it's a little annoying. I wanted something a little different because it's kind of like Bounce. Like it's just got Sarah cards in there, right? So we went for Dino Hawk, which is doing really well. I like this does really well in Conquest mode. It surprises me a lot of times. Like, they can get so much power on the board early. They've got so many win cons, right? You've got your Dark Hawk and Rock strat with Cog, Dark Hawk, Rock Slide. Then you can Mystique the Dark Hawk. You can Mystique Dino, because you've got card generation in Coulson and Fury. You got Shang-Chi to with Cosmo to end people. Collector gets big because you put cards in it. Quinjet to play cards cheap. There is so much. It is so open. Again, you can swap cards out if you don't want to go Collector. You can switch it out. If you didn't want to go, you don't have to play Cosmo. If you're not feeling any use for it, that could be for another card generation card or another tech card. Like myself, I'd probably take Cosmo out for Silk because I really like Silk and I like confusing people with Silk, and I don't really find much use for Cosmo. Or you could take Cosmo out and swap it for like Mariah Hill. Spider Ham is just a good card to give you information, stuff like that. It's, again, basic Dino, but Nick Fury's give it some life, because if you have Quinjet down and Nick Fury, you get to play 2 6-drops, which can be amazing. And lastly, we have a Shuri Red Skull list. This is actually the list I got in my first Infinity avatar with. Done it on my first try with this deck. My second try overall. I feel like Shuri Red Skull list can catch people out right now when they're not prepared for it. It's a fun list. It actually puts out quite a lot of stats. I was lucky not to play a lot of Kitty on my run from Proving Ground all the way to Infinity with it. So I was lucky that I just went undefeated with it. So Spider-Ham can be swapped for any other card. You can put an Angela in here, you can stick Killmonger in here. Silk you can swap for Jeff, or you could put, that could be your Angela swap, or your Killmonger, or your Wave, stuff like that, to help you with the bounce match. Ebony Maw, Sauron, Mary, Red Skull kind of come in a package, and Lizard. You know, you get your Sauron down, you Rudolph. Black Bolt Stature could be swapped out for movement type stuff. Like if you got rid of Silk for Killmonger or Angela to build the kitty up, you could get rid of Stature and Black Bolt for Arrow and Marvel or Vision, stuff like that. It's again another deck that is flexible. Like the biggest tip for getting doing well with a deck is you play a deck. You can meta deck it all you want. Play the deck, get the idea of the deck, and then change it to your style. Once you understand how to play a deck, you can be as open as you want with it. You can cut cards that you don't like. I do it all the time. Like if I need a new deck and I see one that I like, I'll play it, and I'm like, okay, I like this deck, but I don't like that, and then I'll cut it for cards that I prefer, and then it makes it feel a little bit more your deck, and you get better with it. Like, you don't expect to just copy any one of these decks and just go dominate if you've not played the decks before, because you need to understand the snapping pattern, retreat, play patterns. It's just, no matter who you copy a deck from, whether it's just me, that's just a small YouTuber, or some of the big pro guys that are sitting there with tens of thousands of views on each video and like 10 infinity borders, copying the deck straight up isn't going to work for you if you can't play the deck. So take any version of a deck, whether it's mine, whether it's someone else's, play it, get used to it, and then make it your own. Maybe you don't need to change anything. Maybe you're good with a version. Maybe you're not. Maybe one card you're just feeling, I'm not using that. If you feel like you're not using a card, get rid of it. Just because someone has a card in their deck, you don't have to keep it if you're not seeing the value in that card. So we've got a couple of days left of Infinity the season and the Infinity Avatar Hunt. Good luck. I hope if you haven't got one, these decks help you, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.